Hi, I'm Hal Roberts. This is Bridge City News. Here's some of the top stories we've been following. The Russian invasion of Ukraine has begun, with world leaders, including Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, speaking out against the attacks. Workers in Alberta's disability sector who've not received a pay raise in 8 years are speaking out. And addictions are on the rise across North America. We chat with a psychologist about how we can help those struggling with drug, alcohol, or digital addictions.
Your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Hal Roberts.
Thanks so much for joining us. The Russian invasion of Ukraine has begun. Russian troops launched a wide-ranging attack on Ukraine on Thursday. Russian President Vladimir Putin cast aside international condemnation and warned other countries that any attempt to interfere would lead to consequences like you've never seen. Ukrainian officials condemned the attacks.
That would condemn the aggression that you launch on my people. There is no purgatory for war criminals. They go straight to hell, Ambassador.
Later today, we will present a package of massive and targeted sanctions to European leaders for approval. With this package, we will target strategic sectors of the Russian economy by blocking their access to technologies and markets that are key for Russia.
World leaders reacted to Russia's invasion of Ukraine with raw outrage and vows of continued sanctions without running the risk of a wider war in Europe.
Our mission is clear. Diplomatically, politically, economically, and eventually militarily, this hideous and barbaric venture of Vladimir Putin must end in failure. Today, in concert with our allies, we will agree a massive package of economic sanctions designed in time to hobble the Russian economy.
NATO allies condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine in the strongest possible terms. It is a blatant violation of international law, an act of aggression against a sovereign, independent and peaceful country, and a serious threat to Euro-Atlantic security.
A number of protests have been launched, meanwhile, in many countries against the Russian attack on Ukraine.
It could be scary, but this is the only thing you can do. And this is probably the only thing that will stop him.
Stand with Ukraine! Stand with Ukraine!
Germany should stop the collaboration, economical collaboration with Russia, stop buying the gas and oil from Russia and all other resources from Russia.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau took part in a virtual G7 meeting to discuss how to respond to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. He says Canada is imposing more severe sanctions targeting members of the country's elite, also members of the Russian Security Council and key cabinet ministers. Trudeau says Canada stands with Ukraine and condemns the actions of Russia.
President Putin has launched a horrific, unprovoked attack on their country, a sovereign nation, including missile strikes in their capital, Kiev. He has needlessly put the lives of innocent people at risk, violated Russia's international treaties, and launched the greatest threat to European stability since World War II. Canada is unequivocal in our condemnation of Russia's unprovoked and unjustified attack on the sovereign, democratic state of Ukraine.
Prime Minister Trudeau says Ottawa will prioritize immigration applications for Ukrainians who want to flee to Canada and has arranged safe passage for any Canadian citizens still in Ukraine. Solomia Stasiev is a journalist based in Kiev, Ukraine, who says Russian helicopters are landing, tanks are rolling in, and many battles are being lost by Ukrainians. Stasiev described what she's seen and heard so far.
We are being told that there is a possible attack happening tonight, so people are seeking shelters. They're trying to find a safe place to spend the night. There are many people throughout Ukraine in different cities who are hiding in subways, who are hiding in different places, whatever they can get. Like I said, there is a cafe down the street where the owner just opened her doors because she has a 3-story basement, and she invited everyone in. We got some water to her cafe. People are just getting food there. They're trying to cope as much as they can, not panic. But obviously, it's really hard to keep peace right now, because we are hearing that Russians are overtaking a lot of our military objects, airports. We are hearing news about Russians probably taking over government institutions, buildings tonight. It's like I said, it's really hard to know what of that is true or what is a provocation. So people are trying to keep calm, but we are ready. We all have our, emergency suitcases, backpacks, if we need to relocate.
Stasiv says it's too late for many Ukrainians to escape to neighboring countries. Instead, their focus is heading to shelters or bunkers. The Ukrainian-Canadian Congress, Alberta Provincial Council, has put out a plea for humanitarian aid following the invasion of Ukraine. According to the Council, over 300,000 Albertans have Ukrainian ancestry, and the people of Ukraine are fighting in defense of Canadian values. The president of the Council says they're deeply hurt by what has happened. The Canadian Ukraine Foundation has put together an initiative called Help Ukraine Now on GoFundMe with a goal of $1.5 million. Currently, they've raised just over $1.2 million. The provincial government also apparently made a $1 million donation to the initiative. There are reports now that this GoFundMe campaign is currently under review. Well, we had some light snow in parts of southwestern Alberta again today, but milder temperatures. Jeanette Rocher is here now with a quick peek at the weather forecast. Jeanette, it appears as though the clouds will be clearing and will return to +degree temperature soon.
Yeah, it's going to switch over pretty quickly for us here. Into tonight, we're going to be seeing a little bit more of the white fluffy stuff. But into tomorrow, that's going to clear away. We're back to plus temperatures again. +1 is the high. Sunshine, also some gusty winds. We're talking winds from the southwest, 20 to 50 and then up to 60 kilometers per hour. But with those Chinook winds, that means those temperatures are going to get even higher. So we're going to be even more into the pluses just in time for the weekend. Could even see some double digits there. I'll have more details later on in the show.
Thanks so much, Jeanette. The 2022-2023 Alberta budget was tabled today. Finance Minister Travis Toews says the financial books in our province have improved dramatically and we now have a balanced budget. Many attribute that to the high price of oil right now, which is hovering over $90 US a barrel. Toews says Alberta's net debt to GDP ratio went from 24.5% last year to 18.3% this year. He says Alberta has one of the lowest net to GDP ratios in the country. Toews says the province was also able to secure $400 million more in corporate tax revenue to help our bottom line. He says with the province adding an additional 33,000 jobs, and employment is expected to grow by an extra 4%. We'll have more on the Alberta budget on Friday's newscast. The Lethbridge Police Service just can't seem to catch a break. This past week, complaints of bullying, sexism, harassment, and gender discrimination came out from some civilian members of the LPS. Now, many of the complaints go back to 2019, prior to the current chief, Shaheen Medizadeh, taking the reins in 2020. However, complaints were also filed as recently as 2021 from the Records Management Department. According to reports, workers in that department claim they feel like second-class citizens and that their complaints have brought upon retaliation.
That's absolutely not true. I know since my arrival here a year and a half ago, I've made it very clear to them. I've spoken to practically every civilian employee one-on-one to express my gratitude in what they do and show the respect that we have for them. From my perspective, our civilian employees are the platform that's needed for officers to work on. And if that platform is not strong, we can't survive as an organization. So that's the kind of value I have for our civilian employees.
Over the past couple of years during the pandemic, Lethbridge has experienced a shortage of doctors. Our city currently has no primary care physicians accepting new patients at walk-in clinics. By the end of 2021, approximately 45% of residents do not have access to a family physician. That means there are around 69 physicians in our city practicing as a family doctor by the end of the year. 12 physicians are now practicing at the Bigelow Fowler Clinic in the south. Dr. Samuel Dewal, a Lethbridge physician from the clinic, says it costs $40 per patient clinic visit, and emergency visits are now 10 times that cost. Dewal says the loss of primary care costs lives.
It leads to more poor health outcomes. It increases hospitalizations. It increases ER visits. And when I say increased costs, I'm talking both financially and in years of life. You know, if you are somebody who's not having, well, I don't know, I'll choose something, colon cancer screening, right? Simple screening to do, but you have to be in the system to get it done. You have to have a medical home that will do it. We know that appropriate colorectal cancer screening saves lives if you do it across population. There are lives saved when we do it well.
Dewal adds that the issues in primary care are province-wide, and hopefully the issues will be addressed very soon here in our city. Workers in Alberta's disability sector say they're having a staffing crisis. According to the Alberta Disability Workers Association, staff have not received a wage increase in close to 8 years. They're calling on the province to raise wages of community disability support workers by 25%. Video journalist Naveen Day spoke with one couple who say they simply don't feel valued.
The rise of cost of living can often be crushing, especially when the last time your wage was increased was back in 2014. Meet Tim and Leanne Meyer. Both work in the disability sector and are passionate for what they do.
I've been in this field for 16 years. I'm a long-term staff at my current employment. My husband is also in this same field.
And I've been in the field for 20 plus years, and I've loved every single minute of it.
We have 2 young kids that we want to give the best life we can to. Current wages right now do not reflect what it should.
The struggle is we haven't gotten a raise in 8 years. And I have a family I want to provide for. And this is a career that I am passionate about. And I wanted to not do anything else. I want to just, you know, hang out with people with disabilities and give them the best quality of life I possibly can.
We have a second job, and now with the rising cost of everything, we are even considering a third job. That in itself is super stressful because we went to post-secondary for this to be our career.
The Alberta Disability Workers Association has recently launched a campaign called Essential But Forgotten. This is in order to bring awareness of the wage and staffing crises the workers in the sector face. They are asking for the Alberta government to increase funding so that workers can get a 25% wage increase. According to the Meyers, that amount is what is needed for them to survive and have a family life.
Why are we being forgotten about? Why are we seen as not valuable? Disability service workers are needed. We are essential in the lives of the people that we support. And without us, what is going to happen to them?
I honestly love the people that I work with. And I love every single person. Seeing their smiley face every day. I love making them laugh. Even hearing their stories and just sharing, you know, being a part of their life. That's what means the most to me.
According to a 2021 report, the average hourly wage for a community disability support worker, which represents 89% of the workforce, is $18.76. For Bridge City News, I'm Naveen Day.
A Lethbridge man says he shouldn't be here today after suffering a massive heart attack over 3 years ago that severely damaged his heart. Thanks, however, to a team of doctors and nurses, he's alive today. Angela Stewart caught up with Tony Days on how he's doing following an event that almost claimed his life.
The heart attack happened probably around 9 o'clock Sunday night.
December 15th of 2019, the day Lethbridge resident Tony Days will remember forever.
I was playing hockey and took a couple of shifts, then had a hard time catching my breath. I ended up, in the bathroom stall having my heart attack.
Days says his heart attack was massive.
My heart stopped 3 times at the rink and twice more. Twice more in the emergency room.
Doctors call the heart attack Days suffered the widowmaker, where the left anterior descending artery becomes 100% blocked.
It was a big one, and I've always said I shouldn't be here. By all rights, I shouldn't be here.
February has been sort of accepted that it's a great time to focus on heart health.
Days says prior to his attack, no immediate signs jumped out to him. And according to the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Canada, it's best to keep in contact with your healthcare team, and
making healthy lifestyle choices is a major part of mitigating those risk factors.
The foundation says signs of a heart attack can vary and may be different for men and women, but it's about 53% of women who actually experience heart attack symptoms and have them go unrecognized. For days, he says there are some lingering things he's been dealing with.
We're trying to figure that stuff out, and part of that is meds, and part of that is a damaged heart. Overall, it's a healthier guy who's here.
For Bridge City News, I'm Angela Stewart.
That's an incredible story. The YWCA received a generous donation from Shoppers Drug Mart stores here in our city. Close to $12,000 was given to help out the Harbour House. As Micah Quinn explains now, this money will go straight to the women who need it the most.
In Lethbridge, we chose Harbour House because of all the great work that they do.
The Women's Health Initiative is put on by Shoppers Drug Mart stores in Lethbridge every fall, and staff say the YWCA Harbour House just felt like the right fit.
They are definitely needed in the community, and we, in the pharmacy, we see some of the people that they help, so it's very important. So we do, through the cosmetics department, there is fundraising that they do throughout the year, and then our big push is in September, October, and that was also where all 5 stores raised almost $12,000.
The Harbour House is a 24-hour women's emergency shelter and crisis line that assists women and children who are fleeing abuse. The money will be used to help out those same women and children that are served daily.
And so it works out well to get donations such as this, where we can offer them, if they can't get medication or get a car seat for their child, that we can offer to purchase it for them.
You can call the 24-hour crisis line at 403-320-1881 if you are experiencing abuse. For Bridge City News, I'm Micah Quinn.
Beginning May 4th, those who live in Lethbridge will be able to take the bus to the airport. The service being provided by Lethbridge Transit will be available on demand during regular transit hours. Trips can be booked at any location within Demand Zone 103, including the Southgate Station City Hub. Even though a number of protesters have left the Manitoba legislature in Winnipeg, a number of protesters who are fighting COVID-19 vaccine mandates remain. Police have continued to warn those participating in the demonstrations to move their vehicles or they will be seized.
We don't want to see what happened in Ottawa happen here, because this isn't about creating a stand and letting things escalate. It's about de-escalating and doing things in a good way, so that we can set that example, so that we don't see more of an escalation in other places, and then create a visual to show that, we're still here. It's still about, freedom and we're anti-abuse, and to keep continuing on and create avenues of communication and leave that dialogue open to anyone in the public who wants to come and sit down and have a conversation. We don't always have to create sides. Doesn't have to be a divide.
We don't feel like we're losing. I understand how people could think that. We're pivoting. The heart behind what we're doing hasn't changed, right? And if we have to move the trucks out, the trucks started it, but it wasn't about the trucks.
There's a lot of snow in Winnipeg and even a little bit of snow in the Southern California mountains. The white stuff is not stopping a pair of bald eagles from taking care of a couple of eggs in their nest. Look at that. That is adorable. Snow and ice are making travel dicey, however, on many California mountain highways as a very cold and windy storm moves through the area. Well, we've seen a bit of snow here in our region as well, but fortunately the meltdown should begin and those flurries will be coming to an end. Complete weather details are coming up. Many of us don't mind the snow if it's the light, fluffy variety like we received earlier today. Not the heavy, sticky snow, which is more difficult to shovel and clean off of our vehicles. Jeanette Rocher is back with all of the weather details now. Jeanette, it appears as though a lot of that snow may begin melting by the weekend.
Yeah, well, it does appear that way, Hal. Why? Because we are about to get pounded by some pretty tough Chinook winds. We could feel those gusts up to 60 kilometer per hour tomorrow. That is Friday. Lots of sunshine, bringing with it a high of 1 degree. But also, those Chinook winds means that temperature is going to rise even higher. As we looking to the weekend, we are seeing more plus temperatures. There are 7 degrees the high on Saturday. Look at that temperature on Sunday. We're seeing double digits again, 11 degrees the high, lots of sunshine, 9 on Monday, and all the way up to 14 degrees next Tuesday and 9 on Wednesday with partly cloudy skies. So we're definitely getting above that average high for this time of year, which is 3 degrees. Average low -9. 19 was our high temperature on this day back in 1983 and back in 1940. Look where we were at. We were down at -32. That was the coldest day on record. 7:24 is when the sun rose this morning. Our sun set this evening at 6:05 p.m., giving us right around 10 hours and 41 minutes of daylight. Summer is coming. That's what that means to me. On the west coast tomorrow, seeing lots of sunshine, 5 degrees the high in Victoria, 6 in Vancouver. Over in Edmonton, 0 degrees, lots of sunshine there. Same thing for Calgary. Both Calgary and Edmonton seeing wind gusts up to about 20 kilometers per hour. Not so bad when you compare it to what Lethbridge is going to be getting tomorrow. Okay, so in the rest of the prairies, we're looking at minus temperatures there. -7 the high in Saskatoon, partly cloudy skies, mix of sun and cloud in Regina as well, -10. With the wind chill, going to feel much colder because there is an extreme cold warning in effect for both Regina and Winnipeg. Both of those prairie cities seeing wind chills close to -39 and -40. -3 the high in Toronto tomorrow with some snow there. We could see 10 to 15 centimeters of snow in Ottawa tomorrow. -9 there. -11 the high in Montreal, also seeing some snow flurries there. Fredericton seeing about 2 to 4 centimeters of the white stuff. -9 the high there. -7 in Halifax. -10 in Charlottetown. Going to see snow in both of those cities. -4 the high in St. John's, Newfoundland. Newfoundland could see up to 60 kilometer per hour wind gusts tomorrow with partly cloudy skies. So there you have it. That is your forecast.
Stocks fell around the world Thursday before rebounding slightly after Russia's attack of Ukraine sent fear coursing through the markets. It also upped the pressure on high inflation already squeezing the global economy.
Well, right now I think that the decision from Russia to invade the Ukraine sent a shockwave across financial markets. And you saw that, even before this Ukraine situation, investors were nervous about Fed tightening and inflationary pressures. So stocks were already vulnerable. Right now, you've seen the NASDAQ already fall into bear market territory, and the Dow also fell into correction territory earlier this morning. And what you're seeing is everyone is across all the money managers, and I think hedge funds, they're all deciding whether or not, does this, next escalation with the Ukraine-Russia situation lead to concern that we're going to see a recession in the U.S. in the next year or two.
Loblaw Companies is reporting that its fourth quarter profit more than doubled from a year earlier to $744 million. The parent company of Loblaws and Shoppers says net earnings were boosted by a one-time gain of $301 million related to a Supreme Court decision on a tax case. Revenue, however, was down from $13.3 to $12.8 billion. Loblaw Companies says it expects sales will benefit from the ongoing pandemic and higher industry-wide inflation in the first half of 2022. Calgary-based power utility company TransAlta says its fourth quarter loss narrowed to $78 million. That's an improvement from a loss of $167 million in the same quarter a year earlier. Revenue was up 12% to $610 million. TransAlta says free cash flow for the quarter more than doubled to $106 million. It was helped in part by higher realized prices in Alberta and lower sustained capital spending. Now here's a look at today's markets. The TSX was up 17 points in the day to finish at 20,761. The Dow was up 92 points to 33,223. The S&P 500 was up 63 points to 4288. And the NASDAQ was up 436 points on the day to 13,473. West Texas Intermediate Oil was up 89 cents to $92.99 US per barrel. Natural gas was down 6 cents to $4.57 US. Gold was up 4 cents to $19.03.92 US an ounce. And silver was even on the day at $24.22 US an ounce. Feed wheat is at $12.65 per bushel. Barley's at $9.69. Canola's at $24.11, and corn is at $11.30 per bushel. Live cattle were down $2.53 to $140.53. Feeder cattle were down $3.68 to $159.10, and lean hogs were down $2.50 to $105.53. The Canadian dollar was up slightly over the past 24 hours to 78.05 US. Recapping one of our top stories, the Russian invasion on Ukraine has begun. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau took part in a virtual G7 meeting to discuss how to respond to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. He says Canada is imposing more severe sanctions targeting members of the country's elite, members of the Russian Security Council, and even key cabinet ministers. Trudeau says Ottawa will also prioritize immigration applications for Ukrainians who want to flee to Canada and has arranged safe passage for any Canadian citizens still in Ukraine. You know, this is the time of year when many of us catch colds or even the flu. Coming up, we chat with Dr. Clayton Cogano from the Well Vitality Clinic about how you can protect yourself and your immune system. You'll have details for us in just a moment. The TSX was up 17 points in the day to finish at 20,761. The Dow was up 92 points to 33,223. The S&P 500 was up 63 points to 4288, and the Nasdaq was up 436 points on the day to 13,473. West Texas Intermediate Oil was up 89 cents to 92.99 US per barrel. Natural gas was down 6 cents to 4.57 US. Gold was up 4 cents to 1903.92 US an ounce, and silver was even on the day at 24.22 US an ounce. Feed wheat is at $12.65 per bushel, barley is at $9.69, canola is at $24.11, and corn is at $11.30 per bushel. Live cattle were down $2.53 to $140.53. Feeder cattle were down $3.68 to $159.10, and lean hogs were down $2.50 to $105.53. The Canadian dollar was up slightly over the past 24 hours to 78.05 US. With health struggles we've been seeing around the globe, more and more people are trying to find ways to really strengthen their immune systems. Our guest today is Dr. Clayton Coggino, who has some ideas about that. He's a naturopathic doctor in Lethbridge with Well Vitality Health Clinic. He's also done some training in conventional medicine with a Bachelor of Science in Exercise Science, Kinesiology, and doing 3 years of research on radiation with cancer at the University of Lethbridge. Dr. Coggino, welcome back to BCN.
Thanks for having me.
Now, with all the health challenges we're seeing these days, it seems there's a big spike in people who want to really build up their immune system in order to stay healthy. I'm guessing that our diet maybe plays a bit of a role in that. Are there certain foods maybe we should avoid or limit?
Yeah, there's certain foods that just everyone should be limiting, not necessarily fully avoiding, but limiting. Those foods are like things like refined carbohydrates, processed meats. Meats typically are higher in inflammatory foods like omega-6s, cured meats, same thing, fast foods. And then there's also other things that lower the immune system with our food, where it's actually activating our immune system, like food sensitivities, and even certain diseases that can be undetected sometimes for years. And the general premise is you want to lower those inflammatory foods because they can lead to a whole wide variety of issues internally in your body, such as increased intestinal permeability or leaky gut. And that basically activates your immune system in a bad way. It's taking away from what your immune system could be fighting because it's fighting a lot of the food that you're eating.
So what kinds of foods will actually build up our immune system? I'm a big supporter of a lot of berries. I like the blueberries, strawberries, raspberries. What are your thoughts on those? The berries.
That's right. Like those are fantastic. I mean, those are pretty much a gimme. They're high in things called bioflavonoids. They're high in antioxidants, and those are the exact opposite of what those other pro-inflammatory foods I just listed do. Turmeric is another really good one. Garlic is another really good one. Just very high in antioxidants. They lower inflammation in your body, as opposed to omega-6, which would be high in more red meats and meats in general. A lot of the vegetables and fruits, berries, they're high more so in these bioflavonoids. Fish are high in omega-3, which is a anti-inflammatory molecule in our body. So they reduce stress on our body. And, when we're talking immune system, we have to talk what's going to lower stress on your body in multiple ways. And so those foods will really more so help you with that.
So when it comes to vegetables, Dr. Coggino, is it best to maybe eat them raw to get all the nutrient value, or is it sometimes even better to cook them to release more of the nutrients?
Well, I mean, clinically, what I see is some patients, like when you cook, you do decrease some vitamins and minerals potentially, especially at high heats. But I think it doesn't really necessarily matter. As long as you're eating, I think the biggest thing is that most people aren't eating vegetables or fruits as high in quantity as they should be. So I try not to create restrictions based on that. Even if you do get slightly decreased vitamin or mineral consumption with cooked, some people need cooked just due to digestive health issues. It's easier to digest those things, even if raw typically does yield slightly higher vitamin or minerals.
Now, I understand that even good food won't help as much as it should if we're really having trouble absorbing it properly. Dr. Coggino, how can we really tell if the food is being absorbed properly in our bodies?
Well, I typically like testing in my clinic for different things, but there's different tests. So we can do food sensitivity testing, we can do celiac testing, we can do a lot of different tests to look at how is your gut health? Because that is really, it's the number one thing that's going to prevent absorption or lead to malabsorption of nutrients. There are certain tests that we can actually look into mineral consumption, like how are you deficient in certain minerals? Are you deficient in certain vitamins? And so I think that, usually when you have symptoms. Are you tired? Do you have gut pains? Do you have irritable bowel syndrome? But sometimes it's just simple, like sometimes it's just bloating. And it's nothing even major. Sometimes it's a little afternoon fatigue in someone, and they don't understand that it's actually being linked to malabsorption of nutrients through problems with their digestive tract. So it's really important to look into it for people to figure it out.
So how can a person really determine if it's time to see a healthcare practitioner in order to get some help boosting his or her immune system?
Well, I mean, the rough average for getting sick is around 2 to 4 times a year, getting a cold. And averages are a little difficult. Some people would be less, some people might be a little more, depending. If you're getting ill more than you think, then it would be time to go in and get it checked out. But also, if you're feeling extra tired or fatigued, or you're feeling like you have digestive issues where you never had them before, then it's time to start thinking about looking into getting some testing done and figuring it out, because all of those things, even stress, will drag your immune system down and you'll get sick more frequently.
So to what degree do health supplements like vitamins, herbs, and minerals actually help to boost the immune system?
I'm a proponent more so of supplementation in certain cases, not always. I don't like patients just taking copious amounts of supplements, but supplements can help. And a lot of them are very, very well researched. Pretty much all doctors now agree that vitamin D, especially during the winter, is an essential vitamin that people basically should all be taking. Most doctors don't even test it anymore because we pretty well assume everyone's deficient. However, with it becoming more popular, what I'm finding is some people are actually taking too much of it, and you don't want that either. So I do find testing it occasionally is a good idea, and also not taking over the recommended, daily intake of it unless advised. But there's also a lot of great research on herbs as well. For example, astragalus is a herb that increases your white blood cell count. Beta-glucans, which come from mushrooms, as well as N-acetylcysteine, are very antiviral. Garlic is antiviral. They're really great at boosting your immune system. Certain vitamins that we would think would prevent, like vitamin C, don't actually prevent you from getting sick. They've been shown not to prevent, but they will lower the amount of time. They've been shown they lower the amount of time you will be sick if you get sick. So a lot of times when people are sick, I'll give a complex that has vitamin A, C, E, selenium, and zinc in it, antioxidants, things that help out your body fight things and lower the stress on your immune system while your body's fighting something.
Now, Dr. Coggin, it seems like the older we get, it seems the more likely we are to have a weaker immune system. Do you have any special advice for seniors as to how help build their immunity?
Yeah, so as we age, we lower the number of specific type of white blood cell called a neutrophil and other ones called T cells. These are part of our immune system that fight against viruses, bacteria, etc. And they do lower as we age. There was one study done, and what it showed was exercise is actually very beneficial as you age. 10,000 steps a day, if you can get that in. But I think also, even if the study design was showing 10,000 steps, it's more the general premise. Exercise is going to boost up those cells to an equivalent range of a young, healthy adult. So even something so simple as doing just even some extra exercise, it will be beneficial to building up your immune system.
I have to tell you, since we got a dog, I'm taking the dog out for walks, or maybe he's taking me out for walks, and I've noticed a difference as well. That 2K walk every night after dinner, it makes a huge difference for him and for myself. It's been amazing. Now, what about kids? They normally have a very strong immune system, but are there certain things we should maybe help the kids with to help boost their immune systems?
I'm not a huge proponent of giving children lots of supplements. I think that vitamin D would be good, perhaps a probiotic in general, but not always. Children, I feel it's actually, pending it's within reason, it's a good thing they're getting colds. It's building their immune system. It's building their defense to more harmful viruses and bacteria they might encounter through their lives. And the research is really clear. Whether you take your child to daycare or leave them at home, throughout their life, they're going to be getting roughly about the exact same amount of illnesses up to adulthood as either child would. So whether it be now or later, it's actually not a bad thing that your child is getting sick, even if it's inconvenient for us as parents. And certainly if they become sick, then I'd be more a proponent to taking the vitamin C, maybe upping the vitamin D a little bit. And certainly you can see a naturopathic doctor and they can easily advise you and help you with that.
I remember when I was a kid, a lot of our parents would get together and have chickenpox parties, send me to another kid who's got chickenpox, and all of us would get together so we could have chickenpox at the same time and then get over it and build up an immunity to it, I guess, afterwards. I'm not sure if that's probably the best advice today, but back in the 70s and 80s, that's what our parents were doing, right? Now, how much of a role does lack of sleep, stress, and anxiety play when it comes to immunity?
Well, lack of sleep is a huge stressor on the body. And it's a very common cause of a low immune system because it's when we sleep that our body's cells and cellular mechanisms called cytokines are released. That's when we're actually fighting infection, mostly, is when we sleep. And it's a huge stressor on our bodies for multiple reasons. It lowers different hormones in our bodies that help to fight and keep our immune system up, like cortisol, which also in turn can affect other issues going on in our body. But stress is probably one of the most common causes of digestive issues as well in our body, and increased intestinal permeability, which also adds to more stress on the body and a low immune system. And so there's a lot of different things that we want to do to, when people come in, to decrease their stress, because if you don't decrease stress, and stress can come in many forms, like lack of sleep, then you're not going to get anywhere with fixing someone's immune system.
So outside of diet, exercise, and proper sleep patterns, what else can we really do to reduce stress? Maybe take up a hobby?
Yeah, lifestyle modifications are huge, absolutely. Pending they don't stress you out to do them. Yoga, meditation, even just going for a walk. It's all extremely important, Supplementation wise, there's other things more natural that you can do to lower stress as well, like 5-HTP, B6 glycine, St. John's wort. Valerian is very mood stabilizing. So there's a lot of options, both lifestyle as well as supplementation, to help to lower stress.
You know what helps me as well is a relationship with God and lots of prayer, meditating on His Word, and just spending time with God. That gives me a lot of peace and takes away a lot of my stress as well for my family. Now, what about those who suffer from insomnia? My son is one of them. Is there any help for people suffering from insomnia?
Yeah, so I mean, clinically, I love to test things. And unfortunately, insomnia is one of those things where it is very difficult to test brain chemicals and to try and figure out what brain chemical is creating that insomnia. Sometimes it's lifestyle, sometimes it's dietary related, sometimes it's stress, in someone's life that's creating it, which typically is easier to assess and treat. But if it's something more unknown, it's a little trickier. You have to sort of try things. Sometimes we try things like passion flower root, which is very calming and sedating. Chamomile tea is also calming and sedating. But there's a bunch of other vitamins and herbs as well that we can try to help. And really, sometimes we have to use combinations of these things. Melatonin, GABA sometimes can help. And it's definitely worth trying, trying those supplements. Sometimes they work right away. Other times you have to try them for a bit and try different combinations. But it's worth trying because sleep is so important for everything, including mental health.
Would you still advise people getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night?
If possible, absolutely.
Yeah, sometimes that is a challenge, absolutely.
It can be. We have busy, stressful lives.
Dr. Clayton Coggino is a naturopathic doctor in Lethbridge with Well Vitality Health Clinic. Dr. Coggino, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks very much for having me.
Most of us know someone who struggles with addiction, but it becomes even more heartbreaking when it's someone you know and love. You've tried everything, but it seems as though there's no hope. Today's guest has a lot of success helping those with addictions. Dr. Greg Jans, he's a psychologist, author and founder of the Center, A Place of Hope, and one of the top facilities for treatment of depression in the United States. One of his latest books is called When a Loved One is Addicted. Dr. Jans, welcome back to Bridge City News.
Oh, good to be with you. And it's a challenging but important topic.
Especially during the pandemic right now, a lot of people are feeling depressed and anxious, and they're turning to various addictions to help them cope with it right now. So where are we at when it comes to addiction across North America?
Well, across North America, here's what we know. There are three predominant issues going on. Very high anxiety, followed by depression, followed by addiction. Addiction rates are up in every category, whether it be digital addiction, whether it be alcohol. I mean, we're making record sales, which is a funny thing to say, with alcohol. So the level, and part of what happened during the pandemic is alcohol consumption, as you might have guessed, did go way up. We also know that cannabis use, we haven't mentioned food yet, food's in there as well, and the misuse of prescription drugs. So anything really related to addiction, the numbers are higher than really we've ever seen.
Now, what are some of the traits or the telltale signs of addiction outside of the fact you don't have as much money in your bank account?
Yeah, well, that will be one you'll notice, absolutely. The other is it's secrecy. I try to hide this. I try to keep it away from others. So anytime there's secrecy, there may be shame. I'm really embarrassed about this. And then we play the game with ourselves that says, you know what, it's really not hurting anybody. I can stop this at any time. And so we start to move into what we call denial in order to justify our behavior. Over time, here's what to look at. Over time, that addictive behavior, it's like a ticking time bomb. Something will break. Something will break down. Sometimes it's physically, sometimes it's in a relationship. But addiction will lead you down a road, ultimately, that's very self-destructive, a road you didn't want to go down.
Do you think the reason why a lot of people struggle with addiction is because they simply want to escape from reality?
Well, they want to, and that's a good way to put it, they want to mood elevate. I'm tired of this depression. I'm tired of this anxiety. I'm tired of what's going on in the world. I'm tired. And you get into that mode and you go, I just want to feel different. Okay, so what do I do to mood elevate? Well, I can binge eat. I can drink. I can do escapism behavior online. You name it, anything to temporarily cause me to feel differently.
Now, you say that there are certain fears that seem to fuel addictive behavior. Can you flesh that out a little bit for us?
Oh, yeah. You know, behind a lot of addiction, and by the way, it's so easy for any of us, and we should just say that, anybody can slide into this. So if you've been living with a lot of anxiety, okay, let's look at the season we're in. Has there been some anxiety? Okay. We look at what's going on in the world today, and we go, there's some anxiety, there's some unknowns. So anytime that we have unknowns that are significant about our future, about what's happening in government, about what may be happening that feels totally out of our control, that will be a prompt, a fear that will cause us at some point, I need a new way of coping with this.
Are there certain specific barriers that prevent those who are battling addiction from seeking help?
Well, one barrier is going to be embarrassment. It's like, you know, I should have this figured out. I should be able to quit. And so it's that embarrassment. The other is the whole area of getting help, mental health and addiction. Sometimes, depending on where we live, it's looked at that, well, what is wrong with you? And so the judgment of a person who may be struggling could be another barrier. Another barrier is, I'm not hurting anybody else. This is just me, and you don't understand, I have to do this. And so the barrier could be that denial, which can be pretty strong.
We had alcoholism in our family, and I had to go to Al-Anon meetings to learn how to cope, adjust, and be able to help this individual in our family who battled with alcoholism. And one thing I do remember from Al-Anon that really stood out for me, Doctor, was when they said, you never tell a person battling alcoholism that you got a problem with drinking, because the walls, the barriers will go up. You ask the person, do you love me? Do you care about me? Of course I do. I have a problem. Can you help me with my problem? Yes, I want to help you. I have a problem with your drinking. So basically, it puts the onus on yourself so the walls don't go up for them. So how else can we really help people with their addictions, especially when it comes to alcoholism?
Well, and that's very, very good advice. And one of the things that we've got to stay in the game with them. There's times where it feels so hopeless, and you go, oh, the person relapsed again, and it can be very discouraging. So we want to separate the addiction from the person. A lot of times when you're talking to a person who's struggling with addiction, you're kind of talking to that addiction. And remember who they were before addiction got a stronghold. And so we're fighting really the stronghold of that addiction in a person's life. Stay in the game with them. We're probably not going to be their main solution, but we can, with appropriate boundaries and appropriate interventions, we can help them get the help they need, but it's something they will have to decide. And I think that's why it's so, you can see how destructive it is, but then you go, why don't they get help? That's the power of the addiction. One of the things is we don't want to enable or contribute to it. Recently, I had a mom who said, you know what, my son came by and I knew exactly what he was going to do, but I gave him $20 just hoping he'd buy food. But she knew. Okay, so there's a tough love that says, I cannot do things that are going to contribute to this addiction.
You know what I've noticed as well, doctor, is that everybody has a different rock bottom level. Sometimes they have to hit rock bottom before they reach out for help. Let's talk a bit about that.
A rock bottom means things got bad. But a rock bottom for one person is different than the other. Some people, and I've seen this, they may end up homeless. They may end up losing everything in the relationships that they once really cherished because of that addiction, the power of that addiction. We see that a lot with opiate, the pain pill medication. That addiction is so strong. We see it in those that are the fentanyl addiction. So we know that ultimately it is life and death.
Why are boundaries so important when it comes to dealing with an addict?
Because an addict is a specialist in manipulation. They can manipulate you, the situation. That's what addiction does. It makes you really good at manipulating people and situations. And so a boundary just says, I need to protect myself from that manipulation. A boundary says, I love you and I cannot do that, whatever that might be. So a boundary is self-preservation as well as it can be life-saving to the person.
Do you feel that sometimes people will use an addiction such as drugs or alcohol to fill that void in their lives because they simply don't have God in their lives?
Well, I believe an addiction always fulfills a purpose. It can change how you feel temporarily. It helps you avoid oftentimes reality. And it can fill up that emptiness. It's like, man, there's something missing. Well, I end up turning to addiction to temporarily try to fulfill whatever that is. And I don't know if that's necessarily a conscious choice, but I think that's what ends up happening. So we need, and you look, most recovery programs contain a spiritual component, which is interesting, because when we survey our clients or patients, like a year after leaving here, they'll say, you know what? I got so much help from the Center, A Place of Hope, and I learned new tools, but it was really my faith that kept me on course for the long run. And so we know that's got to be a foundation of recovery.
Now, what advice would you give someone who feels helpless and hopeless to bring about change in themselves or maybe in someone else that they really and truly love?
We need to remember that an addiction lies. An addiction distorts reality. Addiction tells you you deserve this. Addiction tells you you really have no value. And so you're fighting the lies of addiction. And so we've got to look beyond that. Look, you are not your addiction. Don't take it on as my self-identity. When we walk around and say, you know, I'm an addict and this is how I guess I was made, and you live that way, that's surrendering to the addiction. We believe, and because we see it happen, that there is hope, and hope comes when there's a plan. I may need to surrender a plan over to others who can help me. I do believe that people struggling with addiction would have changed. Most of them say, I tried to, but I failed. They know they need change when they're really honest with themselves, but they need help doing it.
Let's talk about the addiction when it comes to seniors addicted to opioids or painkillers. You know, we hear a lot of that. We see the statistics each and every year across North America. How should we best approach that? Because that's a serious issue as well.
Oh, absolutely. So an opiate or pain medication is a very easy addiction to slide into. There's approximately every day, these are rough estimates, but we know that there are over 100 deaths every day in North America due to an opiate overdose. We know that many times this started off very innocently. Person had surgery, person had pain, and they became very addicted very quickly. And so it's a slow but certain path to at times death and destruction. What happens in the brain that makes that craving so intense is what really needs to be understood. This is just not a person saying, I need another pill. The intensity of that drug craving it's difficult to describe, but it's very powerful.
How should we maybe approach younger people as opposed to seniors when it comes to their addiction? What's the game plan there, especially if they're addicted to drugs or alcohol?
Well, and maybe they're addicted to the digital world and social media, right. Yeah. Which we do see. I've seen people who have withdrawal symptoms when you take away anything with a screen in their life, and you will see 2 or 3 days later. I've seen sweats, I've seen irritability, I've seen all the symptoms of withdrawal, and heart rate goes up from a digital addiction. So I know it's real. Now, for our young folks, there's a lot of apathy right now, a lot of apathy about their future. The last couple of years, we had some of the highest academic failure than we've ever seen. And so kids generally, and I'm making a broad statement, are not doing well as it relates to both academics and in their social development. Kids need that with their social development. They need to go through those normal stages. What they've been through the last couple of years is not normal. So we've got to understand their needs. And we also know that addiction is starting at younger ages. Age 9 right now tends to be about the age that many kids are exposed to pornography on the internet. Well, that's alarming. And they begin a pattern at age 9 that can kind of take them down a path where they add more and more addiction as they go along. So this is very real for our kids. We need to understand that they're vulnerable to addiction.
Do you think as well, because the fact with the COVID-19 pandemic, many young people have been isolated away from their friends, away from school, that perhaps that fueled the digital addiction?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we've seen situations where, kids were supposedly doing school virtually with a screen, but on their other device or their phone, they're playing online games with the kids in the class. So generally speaking, we had significant online academic failure. It did not work. It did not work well at all, even for teachers. Now, that did set the kids up for a sense of kind of general failure. And we've got to understand that developmentally, depending on the age of the kid, they need to go through certain stages that is a part of socialization. And we know that masking the kids was not of help. I can tell you right now, for the younger kids, we're seeing where speech development occurs, we are seeing speech pathologists who are very busy because of delayed language development.
Wow. Dr. Greg Jans is a psychologist and author of When a Loved One is Addicted, available at placeofhope.com. Dr. Jans, thanks so much for joining us today from Washington State.
Oh, very good to be with you.
On behalf of all of us here at Bridge City News, I'm Hal Roberts. God bless and thanks for watching.